And I decided to change the name because we talk much more, I think, about parenting than we do. I mean, we talk about homeschooling, we talk about the different ways we're witnessing our children, but we bring a lot of parenting things that just come along with the roles that we're playing right now in our life. So I am going to call on anybody. If they want to bring anything, raise your hand. I, of course, have Vitriol from this week that I could share, but I'm going to check participants. We have a very small group today. I like it. We have Lynette is on her vacation. I'm so happy for her. And everybody's vacation or trips or road trips gave me the itch to go. And Maine is such a perfect place to go. So I kind of wore myself out doing that. And then I had 2 days that I took off before going back to work. And then you get home and you're like, I just worked at home. So I feel like I haven't really slowed down or stopped all week. And Dax has been kind of in this mode of being stagnant while I am not there, whether he be with Grammy, at a friend's. You know, when he goes to his friends, they play and have fun. But he's like saving all of these projects for when I get there, which is, I love it. You know, when we first started doing this, he's all in his mind. And when I, leave him in my office at work, he creates all of these cool books and stuff like that. But now he's like waiting for me to get home so we can do these big projects. And we've been learning a lot. So that's my vitriol, is that I have just been spending a lot of energy on these projects. And I know this weekend he's going to have some, and I know when I get home today, he's going to have some. So Saturday, I invited a friend over, another parent who allows them to be a little bit more free range. So they're going to go. I'm going to say, go, have fun, go ride your bikes. We live in this teeny itty bitty little town. And I know a lot of people in town, and my son has his cell phone and they know where they're at, and I trust them, to be safe. So as long as there's 2 of them, 2 or more, I'm okay with it. I'm going to check hands. That's kind of my rambling, my vitriol. So Saturday, I do invite the kids over, which takes energy, but they also entertain themselves. My son is an only child. So when his friends come over, a lot of times they play. I'm hoping. Like 50-50 chance they'll go play, or sometimes they just are stuck up my butt for some reason, like telling me everything that they're doing, and then the many questions.
Logan does that too.
Yes, nonstop. Which is, it opens up such good conversation and back and forth. I was listening, I'll tell you guys something kind of funny. I was listening to my son and his friend talk in my back room, and I'm in the kitchen, and they're talking about masks and the vaccine and stuff. And I was like, you two could change the subject. We don't really need to discuss this. And Patrick starts to say, yeah, but, and Dax was like, well, we can, so we will. I was like, okay. All right. Then talk away. Fine. So it may be. Talk about that, right? Amber, go ahead. I will stop rambling.
Yeah, I've had the same experience, and with my daughter Charlie, she's 8, and we play ultimate frisbee twice a week, and we have this really cool crew of kids that play, and they all go to school and they're wearing masks, and she knows how we feel, and I say she has a mask exemption, so she doesn't have to wear one wherever we go, and she's pretty comfortable doing that. She's not embarrassed at all, but they're taught, she wanted to wear a mask because her friends were wearing them. She's like, Mom, I just want to go to school and wear a mask. And like my knee-jerk reaction, my gut was total antipathy. I'm like, no, we're not even going to talk about this. But then it's what I realized is they're processing all of this right along with us, and they need to talk about it in their own way with their friends, right? They want to figure it out. And so I've been kind of letting the conversation go lately and just ask her how she feels. And it's hard because I want to tell her how to think, right? Because we want to protect them. But I'm just reminding myself lately that that's still fear driven, right? And so anything coming up for me that's driven by fear, like the fear of her going to the other side. I mean, I know that's not going to happen, but it's still in me to want to protect her from that. And yeah, I hear you. I'm trying to let those conversations happen, and it's hard.
Yeah, it is. It's hard to just let them go whichever way their conversation takes them, which is always quite colorful, with little ones. I think our vacation was much more taxing for my son in the mask department because we were in the city and we got asked much more. Normally at home where I live, people give me a hard time, but they don't ever say anything to my son. And when this all started, he did go to school and wear the mask, giving everybody as hard of a time as he could about it the entire time. Until we made this decision together to come home. If we want to choose to be how we are, we will do it in our own space. And then his friend that I was talking about did the opposite switch. He went from homeschool to now going to school. So it is so scary to just let them go on that subject. Like sometimes I feel like I don't even want to hear about it, especially from you too. But yeah, I just had to back down. I was like, okay, talk away. I just went back to doing what I was doing, So, and that is a very powerful thing to think about, that, they're processing it just like we are in their own way. Oh, hold on, guys. Sorry. Does anybody else have anything that they want on the subject?
Mine's a little bit. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just going to recap.
Mine's I guess somewhat related, although not exactly about mass. We were going on a little trip last night to like a dinosaur park or something. I think it was called like Jurassic Quest, which is like a drive-through, exhibit that you do here in St. Louis. And yeah, it was, it was fun. I knew the kids would be having a good time there too. And it was just an interesting experience with my wife and I, especially, a little bit of vitriol back and forth because she knows that I'm like, yeah, I'm not sure about that whole dinosaur thing and what that story might be like. And meanwhile, like our son, loves dinosaurs right now, and he watches like, Peppa Pig, and little Georgie boy there is always dinosaur, right? So he's got his dinosaur books with the shapes and colors, and every time he sees him, he's giving a little roar. Like he loves it. So like I thought it was beautiful that my wife set it up to, have this little fun activity. We can go just do a quick drive-through thing, and yeah, we did have a good time. But I had to check myself a few times because, I think I was, and this is sort of I guess to what you were talking about, Amber, you want to like not have them buy into the story so much. And so like my daughter, she's a little bit older, you know, she knows, she'll be like, oh yeah, dinosaurs, like they're fake. And she kind of just, that's her retort or whatever. But with my son, I'm like, oh, he's only 2. I'm like, I got to make sure he knows a little bit more about him too. So I had that itch to be like, well, look at these guys, but hey, remember, they're pretend. And it was, you know, bugging my wife a little bit. She's like, can you not ruin this? And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like, I think I'll check myself there. So it is a good reminder, you know, just sometimes to leave things be a little bit, right? There's places and times and moments, and sometimes we just need to have fun in that moment, or, you know, with your kids, yeah, you know, maybe let them explore the conversation, or even try it on for size and see how they like it, you know, and be like, yeah, if you want to wear a mask, like, sure, you can see what it's like. It certainly has some, you know, benefits, I guess you could say, because you blend in and it's easier, right? But yeah, anyhow, related experience, not exactly a mask, but I think with the mentality is kind of the same, which is you see these opportunities where you're like, hey, should I try and apply some correction, or should I just let it go for now? Yeah, let it go.
Yeah, that's definitely relatable because it's just allowing them to explore like the dinosaurs or the math or whatever subject and come to their own realization with it, I suppose, you know. And with the dinosaurs specifically, like that's something I haven't even brought up with my son. He seems to come across these subjects all on his own, like flat earth and these things. You know, I allow him to watch YouTube, and you know, I have his history, and he's really actually quite responsible with it. And you know, he Googles whatever he wants. So I feel like at some point in time, it may be something that like crosses his path. And it reminds me of something that Gaia said to me about, or actually a couple things she said, how, like you say, you try and show them that it's make believe and, you know, it's a made up story, just like any other fun story, but also helping them, teaching them to discern rather than teaching them each individual thing. And it also brings up like imposing our own beliefs on them, you know. Like when I was growing up, my mother and father were from they grew up in 2 different religions, going to church and this and that. And my mother and father, they were both really into history, and they were, you know, kind of old school, but we never went to church. They never read the Bible to us. They would answer our questions about things because, of course, our friends all do this, but never once did they ever impose the fact that their beliefs or what they've done is something that we should identify for ourselves. So I try and do that a lot with him and just kind of let him, you know, like, well, what do you think about? Because what I really feel about the subjects is not important, because they do get to that age where what you think means zero anyways. Like, we could be out on a bike ride and it's not until I tell him that the sun's gonna go down, the sun says we need to head home, then he's like, oh, okay, all right. He's just at this moment where he's got to figure it out. He does not want to listen to my rationality very much lately. So thank you very much for sharing that, Josh. Amber, do you still have your hand up? Do you want to unmute? Elizabeth, welcome. I see you. I just opened the participants list. I'm on my phone.
I'm sorry I came in late, and thank you for accepting me.
That's okay. I'm so glad you're here. I personally have never set any, what do we call them?
Guidelines?
Yeah. Or fouls. So I'm just happy you're here. Thank you.
Thank you, and I can't wait to hear Amber. So I'll be quiet now, and thank you.
No, it's funny, actually. I was just going to say what Anne did, and she said it so perfectly. It's about teaching them discernment, not forcing our beliefs down their throats. And like my daughter wanted to put on the mask and she wanted to wear it around the house. And then her little sister, who's 3, sees her. And so she goes and gets an apron and puts it around her face. And they were totally acting out the masks. And then I just watched them and was like, how's it feel, you guys? Can you breathe okay? I was like, let's do some jumping jacks. So then we started exercising.
That's good.
And it was really awesome because it was just, it didn't last very long and they took them off and I didn't really have to say anything. But that feeling inside, I've been really trying to be present whenever I get a strong feeling of antipathy, right? Because it's being triggered a lot right now by everything. Just trying to find a balance with that. And I have a recent experience I could share as well, unless someone else wants to add to that.
I don't have any hands. Go for it.
Okay. So this recently was triggered in me in a big way. About 2-3 weeks ago, I was asked by a school that I taught at in Washington for a year if I wanted to come back and teach 2nd, 3rd grade. And it's a Waldorf school, and it's very progressive, and it's not, it doesn't feel elitist at all. It's very wholesome. And I felt more supported at that school in the year that we were there than I've ever felt in my whole parenting experience. And because it was like a family, and there were just 5 main teachers, and then we had specialty teachers. And so we were really, really tightly knit. And we were going to go back last year, but my son had the scholarship and COVID happened. We thought we'd just give it another year. And so they called me up and I accepted the position. And then I reflected on it and I thought to myself, oh my God, I can't teach in a mask, and I will not teach to any students in masks. Like there's the antipathy, like total, just absolutely not. This isn't even possible for me. And I think Danny shared a video, an Amanda Vollmer clip like the next day. And she said, she spoke my words, like how she feels just resonates with me. And it was really empowering. And so I wrote back to the school, these women that I love so much, and said that, me working at the school is contingent upon whether you want to go through like unmasking the school legally and take legal action. And I've been hearing about people doing it, and I've been starting to look into it myself, and I know nothing about law. I'm kind of overwhelmed in that department. I don't want to know anything about it, but I feel like now I need to learn about it because I need to know my rights and we need to know our rights. And so, and they responded and just were like, Amber, telling me about the year they've been through. And I had already heard about it. So this school, you guys, these women are amazing. They went from, the plan was to move the school onto land to create an outdoor school. And then COVID happened. So there's 10 acres that a family gifted them to use for the school. And I was part of lining that up 4 years ago. So all of this was happening at the beginning of the school year. And they moved on to the land. They built 6 structures. They were the only school in Washington state that was going full time, and they were not enforcing the mask policy at all because they were outside, because they were on property. And so the county came in and shut them down, even though they were coming up with all these creative ways to deal with, how do we social distance? How do we still sing songs without masks on and the like? And so, they shared all the ways in which they've had to jump through hoops, and they ended up getting shut down. They had to remove all 6 structures. They moved back to their old building. Then they were having to wear masks, and they did not enforce it at all. And so they said to me, we are not interested in pursuing legal action. So we're writing back and forth last week about all of this. And, yesterday they asked if I would attend the board meeting and teacher meeting. And I made my decision. I wasn't going to teach there. Like, I decided this is where I draw the line, right? And then I went to this meeting and I realized that the masking issue wasn't an issue there like it is here for what I've experienced with my son's school. And it's, I live in a Democrat state and everyone's complying and we've been so locked down. And now that we've opened it to tourists, now there's all this shaming of the tourists. Like, I would not want to come to Hawaii right now as a tourist. They're just being targeted even more than they were before. And so, it's just, I didn't realize how traumatizing the whole experience has been, because I spent a lot of time on my property and my land, and we just try to like live in our little safe bubble where we don't, my kids, I don't take them to the store. Like, they're not really exposed to it too much. But so I was just so standing in this place of like, absolutely draw this line, masks, I will not teach this. And then I realized that they've been getting around this for the entire school year. And by not having this rejection to the masks, so they don't allow the masks, they don't enforce them. All the children wear scarves around their neck. That's it. And they've had 2 students whose parents are in the medical profession, and the children are required to wear masks their entire school day. And so they said, how would you handle the situation? I was like, I don't know. I wouldn't. I just wouldn't. I would say, no, I'm not going to, teach to them. And the 3rd, 4th grade teacher shared with me how she's dealing with it. And what she's done is the opposite. Instead of rejecting it, because my whole thing was, if we normalize this, then what next, right? My whole thing is, if we make this normal and we accept this as personal choice, where do we draw the line? What, because we know more things are going to come at our children. Like, they're totally targeting our children. We can sit in a restaurant and eat without a mask, but our children can't sit at desks and eat and be without masks. Like, we know they're targeting our children. They're wanting to brainwash them. But they said to me that the way she's dealt with it is, she just reminds them that she feels safe, and she's leading from a place of no fear. And all of the teachers started sharing their stories, and every single one of them, we're all inspired by Steiner. And I think Steiner is really, it was so prophetic, and I love his work now more than ever. But good morning, Charlie. Okay, just a second, honey. All right. Oh, because I knew you'd wake up on your own. She's mad, or she's not mad, but why didn't you wake me up? She's like the early bird. But anyway, long story short, I realized that the masking issue wasn't an issue there for them. It's an issue here, but they've already dealt with it in the most amazing way by holding space, not holding space for fear, right? Holding space for allowing them to feel safe on their own. And as a result, now, she said, these 2 students who are brother and sister, they're a year apart, they've been taking off their masks in class, and their parents all see how they run around at school. And she says, as a result, what I see is this is the way to help heal and reach people, right? This is the modeling. This is the example we have to set. And, if we are, for example, I was at a meeting a couple Saturdays ago for, freedom, and this woman came up in a mask and was videotaping us. And several people in the group got so pissed at her, and they're like, we're videotaping you. And they just reacted to her, right? But if they hadn't said anything and just allowed her to stand there in her mask and videotape us, she would have heard a beautiful message about love and freedom and unity. And on some level, it might have resonated with her. But because we rejected her, it completely shut all doors and opportunity for her to think for herself. And this is what we're talking about applying to our kids, like, allow them to make the decision for themselves. We can't tell someone to feel safe and make them feel safe. We have to model feeling safe. We have to model being fearless, essentially. And so by the end of the meeting, I cried, you guys. I couldn't believe it. It moved me to tears. And I realized they were right. Like, I didn't think they were being cowards, and I didn't think they were being weak, but I also see now how I need to go be a part of this, and that, and and this is a whole nother topic of conversation, but the village is what's been missing from my life for so long, and feeling supported by the village. That's the hardest part about homeschooling, is if you don't have a good peer group of other homeschoolers that you meet with regularly. And even then, like, for children to learn from their peers in action, learning in, taking in the information together, that's, they learn from one another, right? That's like my best learning experiences were other friends who were athletes that pushed me, to the next level because they were faster than me or whatever it may have been. And so they need that. And so I definitely am feeling like I can work with these women and we can actually make change. And I'm excited, but yeah, that's all for now.
Good morning, Mom.
That was so awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Those teachers are all crazy horse. Walking giants in their own strength. I think that's really beautiful, because that's just the perfect way to show that they can be saved. Josh, you have your hand up.
Yeah. Man, this is a topic near and dear to my heart, right? That's so beautiful what you're talking about, Amber. And I think, in my own situation and how my own evolution to this same topic has really progressed in the last few months. There's the idea of strength that you mentioned. So when we think about strength, sometimes we think about like pushing back on something and being strong and repelling it and opposing it. And I'm with you. Like, if you heard me talk about this before at all, you know that I'm with you on that. But I think you've, really opened something up in me that I've been kind of working towards more recently, which is this idea of, okay, in my thinking, maybe, a few months back, there was this us and them type of mentality. We're the beautiful ones that just want to embrace harmony with nature, not looking to, put a mask on our face, not living in fear. But then the them being, well, these people are, like, God, they're sick in the head. Like, what's wrong with them? I don't want them around me. I don't want them around my children, that kind of thing. And I've been working in my own mind about, it's a really ugly place to come from, because, even the idea of like how you heal something, you don't heal something by thinking about how negative it is and how ugly it is and how wounded it is and all those things. The teachings even of Jesus, right, is, he healed through recognizing the beauty and how perfect everything was and how perfect everyone was. And so, if you think about like healing somebody who was crippled and couldn't walk, the story of Jesus wasn't that he, was like, oh yeah, like I see how battered and bruised you are, and let me like put my magical hand on you and heal you. It was that he saw that man as the perfect man, right? The perfect child of God who already could walk. And he would tell him, get up from your chair and walk. I know you can, right? Like, he had no doubt in his mind. And I think what you're talking about is very much akin to the same idea, which is like, see the beauty in everybody. Don't, when you encounter someone like you mentioned, oh, they've got their video up and, oh, I see you anti-maskers out there, breaking the rules or whatever. You shouldn't even, we should try and get to a place where we don't even have a reaction that's negative. We just, embrace that person, and we just continue to kind of be in our flow of, yeah, like, I'm a beautiful person, you're a beautiful person. We're just going to go on in this harmonious nature. And like you said, like, there'd be more transformation, I think, of other people when they see that, and they don't see this combative nature, this fear on fear, right? Because as you said, when you pick up your phone and you go, well, hey, I'm recording you, you're trying to put the fear in them, right, as well. And so breaking that barrier between like fear attacking fear, the only way that you're going to transform someone, like you said, is to model the behavior, right? Show them that you're like, I'm not afraid. And, Anna, it's almost like what you talked about yesterday in the dojo with like the copperheads and the water moccasins, when you're like, I'm not afraid. Like, I don't fear you. And I teach my daughter the same thing with like animals and bees and all kinds of stuff. I'm like, hey, like they can sense the fear in you. And if you're afraid of them, you're going to trigger fear in the animal. And that's what's going to have them lash out at you. Gosh, isn't it the same dang thing with people, right? They can sense the fear in you and you trigger fear in them. Like we resonate off of each other. So, man, just such amazing stuff that you're bringing out there, Amber. And, more power to you for checking yourself too, right? Because, it sounds like you went through that same process mentally and, you were in a place of like, no, I don't want to embrace that. I don't want to normalize that. And I'm 100% with you. Like, that's not what we want to do. But when we think about the tactic of how to combat that, and even those words I just used aren't really perfect for what I just said, but I think you get the gist. The only way that there is going to be healing of people who are living in more fear right now, want to wear masks, want to send their kids in masks, probably isn't going to be through attacking them, right? But more so just showing them that like, yeah, I'm not afraid. I'm not concerned, by you, and I'm not worried about that. And I'm not here to, put fear in you either. I'm just going to exist as another, loving human being, and that'll resonate in them on some level, right? And not to say that everyone is just going to see your aura and take off their mask initially, but hey, like you said with your kids, they got pretty tired of playing around with them after a few minutes, and they're like, yeah, it's not that fun, whatever, kind of moving on. So, man, just yeah, a lot to soak in on your comments there. And I think the other area that I relate to, and then I'll pass the talking stick back to somebody else here, is this idea of and I think Anna, you brought this up, teaching your kids discernment, right? So not necessarily teaching them like, hey, this is the answer, like I know the answers, so you should listen to me. And also that's a piss poor way of trying to teach a kid how to learn, right? Because then they're going to be like looking for somebody for an answer, and it's like, no, you don't need anybody to tell you the answers. You can figure out all the answers yourself. And I do the same thing with my daughter, and I talk about her more because she's 4, so she can gather more of this stuff already. But like when we're watching TV, it's just a simple reminder, and I'll ask her questions, and I'm like, hey, you see that? Is that real or fake? And if we're watching a cartoon or something, she's like, oh yeah, that's just pretend. She's like, that's because it's on TV, right? And certain things I'll be like, well, is that real or fake? And I try and remind her, I'm like, hey, it's real if you've seen it or you've felt it, you've touched it with your own, 2 eyes, 2 hands, 2 feet, whatever it might be. And so trying to give them the sense of like reality versus the fiction, and trying to get that wheel turning in their head as to how to discern what is real and what is fake, giving them certain measuring sticks, understand how to use their inner tuning fork and how to use their discernment. So, that's probably a good topic in and of itself as to the different ways that we can help nurture that concept, because I think that's where, a lot of us have come together, which is nurturing our own discernment. And then how do we pass that along to our kids without just saying, hey, let me teach you the way the world works and the earth is flat and their dinosaurs are bogus and, all this other good stuff that, may or may not be true. Right. But the discernment factor and teaching someone how to use their discernment, I think is so vitally important. Anyway, that's all I got for now.
That's awesome. Thank you. So many things that bubbles up from what both of you shared. Fear feeds fear. And we do have that mammalian instinct to feed off of that fear and, like, you know, fight back with the fear. And I do the same thing with my son, trying to just show my appreciation for the beauty of things, to help him feel comfortable. So what this brought up for me is a memory of when my son and I were going camping, and I, you know, we carry some things halfway, and then we carry, like, you know, we carry the whole big load halfway and then half of it the other way, and then go back and get it. And because when I bring him, I bring all the things, right? And I let him go back to get the load all by himself. He was like, no, I got it. That, you know, I was setting things up and stuff, and he wanted to be big and go get it. And it wasn't that far away. You know what I mean? If he got lost, which he did, I would have found him or seen him. So he was 6, okay? And he's got a backpack, 2 bags, and a bucket. And he's walking through this bog, which was not the way, you know? So me, you know, I've walked over to where he was, and he was, of course, so scared, and he had been crying. And I think just being calm and, you know, showing him how that to be comfortable in that situation, and showing him the beauty of his surroundings in that moment. It was just a beautiful, beautiful learning experience. It was like tragic for him, and just having that stance of love and beauty, he was able to feel that as well, so he was able to see it better. So that's really what that was. I haven't really thought about that in a long time, so I really appreciate that. And now, you know, he has so much more confidence, and he takes his friends, you know, his friends are not as life skills smart as I would say, you know, and he is able to share that confidence with his friends, which is, you know, powerful in itself, which only strengthens him more, being able to share that. And, you know, there's a lot of power in just embracing the fact that people feel comfortable with the mask on, and that is their comfort zone at that moment in time, you know. And it takes somebody shifting their own comfort zone for them to make their own realization, I guess, you know. And a lot of what we do, just by making our own choices to, you know, not feed the fear, it strikes some chord in people, whether they continue to comply or whether, I mean, it's got to strike some chord. When last year, when football season started, it wasn't even a question in my mind. You know, we're playing football, we're going to show up, I'm not wearing a mask, nobody's going to fucking tell me to. And, you know, I was, at first, I was very combative of it, because, you know, God forbid anybody tell me what to wear. And that was just kind of my attitude. And I said that, you know, I got to make this a happy experience, because he was already upset because they weren't playing tackle. They were playing flag football, which he thought it really kind of ruined the season, looking back on it for him. But so I just showed up, and I was asked to put on a mask, and I calmly asked if I could just stand away from everybody. we're fucking outside, you know? And just from not, I think from not really giving that combativeness, it made the whole experience better for him. He didn't even know what was going on. And if I had been combative, it would have been something that, of course, he would have witnessed, which he does going to the grocery store, you know, in the beginning. So there's just that power in showing them, you know, that love, really. A lot of times I just say, thank you, I appreciate it, but I'd like to rather do this. So that is a big shift as well that I've made. Like, I was feeding the fear. I was definitely, when this first, and also my son was witnessing that fear. And like, as I'm talking about it, I'm really thinking about it. So I think this is just really, really powerful for me. Johnny B, take the talking stick.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, good. I'm at the hilltop, so yeah, great topic today. So those who don't know me or my situation, I've got 4 kids that live with us. I have 2 daughters. They're teenagers right now, 16 and 15. So that's fun. They chose to do online schooling because we moved recently to some acreage. So they lost their friends to begin with. Schools were closed last year. It's hard to make new friends. I totally relate with them. To make new friends in a new school is hard enough. You throw in COVID with the fucking masks, it's 1,000 times harder. But they still feel they need to complete and graduate. So they chose to do online coursing. And I don't know if it's going to be an option come September. As the government likes to do, they like to toy with everyone's plans and say, just like we were talking in Dojo about the work, you don't know if you can work from home forever or just temporary. So they're doing the same thing with schooling. So they're saying, well, we'll play by ear. We'll see if we're going to offer online schooling, even though my girls are excelling at it. They're getting like 95 to 99% in all the courses they do. But they do miss out on the social aspect. But there are some of her friends, my daughter's friends, that come up. They're at my house now. A couple of them, they are staying for 5 days during, this is our March break. Our government moved it to April for some fucking reason. just to really mess with everyone. So this is their spring break. But they're with their friends all 5 days. I'll be in the woods a lot, you know. I don't need to watch TikTok videos and everything. They're dancing around. But we do have, for the last 2 weeks, a very strict stay-at-home order. No one's allowed to see anyone. But I've noticed this time around with the 3rd lockdown, so many people are fed up. I see so many people in the parks, so many people. Like my brother who lives in the city in Toronto, he goes and meets up and it drops off his kids with his friends. So there is some optimism I see. I don't know what I'm going to do come September, but I really like the idea of letting them decide. So when this whole thing started, I've never worn a mask, not a single day, except once when I was doing drywalling. But, you know, I don't want to breathe in drywall. That's what those things are for. So for about the first month, I could feel their energy that they were, you know, as teenage girls, they're nervous to be, or they don't want the confrontation. Even for me, they didn't want a confrontation for me. So they avoided going to the grocery store. They avoided going to any store. But that was just the first month. Right now, they don't care. And they even told me, which was nice, because I asked them, it's like, do you guys get embarrassed that I'm pretty much the only one in the store without a mask? And my one daughter is like, yeah, well, I don't even notice you don't have a mask. It doesn't even cross my mind, except when there's one person who just stares at you and gives you a dirty look. And, I didn't even notice that. And my daughter noticed that for me. And then she processed it that they were probably giving me a dirty look because I was the only one without a mask. But no one ever approaches me. I don't know if it's the aura like I give off that I don't, you're not going to put a mask on me. Like, but my family is pretty, they all know it's bullshit, but not everyone has the energy to go maskless. So I'll just give you one quick scenario. Met up with my parents a few days ago. They went into a Tim Hortons, which is like a Krispy Kreme, coffee joint here we have in Canada. And I was 5 minutes late, so I told them to get me coffee. I assumed they'd go through drive-through, right? But they had to use the washroom, so they try not to wear masks in grocery stores. They usually get away with it, especially my dad. But apparently they got yelled at and forced out of the store. So they quickly had to scramble to put on a mask so they can go back in and use the bathroom. But all this happened before I showed up, and I just stared at my dad. I'm like, you still bought coffee from them, didn't you? Yeah. I'm like, why? Like, I'm like non-confrontational. It's, if you don't want me in the store, if you're going to make a scene, I'm going to go down the street to someone who will sell me coffee. And that's the way I've been dealing with this. And it's been working out pretty good. But with my kids, like, I do want to give them room that if they want to, I don't know, would I let them go with a mask into school? I don't know. I would hope they would have enough energy to at least wear it down, or see, that's a tough one. Like, I'm trying to convince them without really telling them explicitly that high school is useless. You can just learn whatever you want online. You can pick your own courses. The whole career path model is down the drain, literally. So I don't even know who would send their kids to college at this stage, because college are doing online, and why would you pay thousands of dollars to do online when you can pick a course for free? It's like, I don't know how this is going to play out, but I am seeing some optimism. And I do have an 8-year-old son who's homeschooled, and I don't think he would ever put on a mask. Although my wife doesn't like me taking him to the store. I'm almost at the stage where she will let me, but she doesn't want anyone to give him attitude or cause a scene in front of him. And whatever, I don't like going to the stores too often, but when I do, I usually take the 2 teenage girls and they put on their mask. And if one day they didn't wear their mask, I would be very impressed, but we're not there yet. But thanks. That's all.
Thank you, Johnny. I do want to say one quick thing to you about just the thought of letting them go to school and wear the mask. The tough one. I let Dax go in the beginning of last school year, and for 2 years-ish, I've just let the option open to, we can do this at home. Like, when you're fed up, we have other options, And of course, he always wanted to go and be with his buddies, right? But he got to that fed up point, and I think it makes them feel better just knowing that they have options, And at that teenage years, it's tough because you always want to do what your friends are doing, right? So it's just tough. I'm going to check the hands. I know some are up. Josh and then Amber.
Yeah, thank you, Anna. And I resonate a lot with you, Johnny. Especially on a couple things you had mentioned. Kind of going back a little bit to the beginning of what you were saying. The aura that you cast off when you go into a store, and kind of how you operate and why maybe a lot of people don't confront you. For not this whole pandemic, but 90+% of it, I've been maskless, right? I was a little bit duped in the beginning. I was like, oh man, there's a crazy virus going around. It came from a bat. Everyone be scared. And then, I did a little bit of digging, and I was like, wait a minute. I was like, I don't think those people in China are like really dying like they say, falling over crazy. Anyhow, and it's always confounded my friends that they're like, how are you like doing it? They're like, how do you not wear a mask and not get like assaulted or go viral on YouTube for being hauled out of a store by a cop or something? And I'm just like, yeah, like I'm not confrontational. Like I don't go in, and if somebody's like, hey, you need to put a mask on, I don't go swinging at them and I'm like, fuck you, or something, like that's not how it works. And I've always described it as, I just exist without a mask. Like it's not who I am, and I don't wear one, not going to wear one, and it's not even a thing. So I don't, get all charged up like I'm going to go in for a fight before I go into a store or something. I just don't wear a mask. And when people ask me, I always tell my friends, I'm like, it's very simple. I just say no thank you. I say no thank you. And then if they ask me, well, hey, it's policy or something, well, I have an exemption. No thank you. Right? And you just carry on your way. Just very loving, very kind, and just I exist without a mask. Like that's it. Like it's just that simple. And 99.9% of the time, like that's fine. One sec. Hey, Shyla, come on. And I think it is very much like how you carry yourself, and even like James has talked about the idea of fashion, right? And your aura is your fashion, right? It's how you carry yourself. It's not necessarily just your clothes. I mean, that's a component of it, I suppose. But it is that energy that you have underneath you, right? And I said before, that resonates with people. And so if you carry yourself in a certain way and you're not going in from a place of fear, or that I might get confronted, or that this is going to be a thing, more often than not, it won't be a thing, right? And, the transformation that I've seen, and even a lot of the people who would ask me, is obviously I'm like the only person who goes around here without a mask. They know me. So I come in and I'll get greeted and they're like, hey, I haven't seen you in a while. How you been? And I'm like, good, and I'll talk to the store managers. Like, you'd think if you didn't have a mask on, you'd want to like cower and like, not be seen or be a ninja or something. And I'm like, I don't do that. Like if I got a question, or I'm like, hey, I can't find the bananas or something, I'll ask. Like I ask people things. And even when I would go around and ask people, I rarely would have anyone say like, oh, hey, well, wait a minute, you want bananas, but you need to put a mask on first before I can answer that question for you. Like nobody even bats an eye. So yeah, there's this interesting aspect to it as to how it all works and the the underlying psychology of it all. But it is very important to kind of be in that right place. And then just a little bit of witness for you, Johnny, on the mass with the kids and all that. And I think it does relate a bit to, and I don't know if you were here when Amber was talking before about, her kids and wanting to kind of test out the mask or whatever it might be. And she had such a beautiful way of putting it about, well, okay, I'll relate it this way. It's like, if you don't want your kid to listen to rap music and they start turning on, Ice Cube, which I love Ice Cube, so whatever. But, they start playing some Ice Cube or something. And if you just immediately run over to the radio and you're like, turn that off, and you get all up in their face about it, they're going to want it more. Right. And so, and I know you're not doing that.
How,
Go ahead.
sorry
Go
to
ahead.
jump in,
Yeah.
how, because, teenage girls are into their, I can't stand fucking half the shit they listen to, but
Right.
I just dance along when they're dancing and I start twerking in front of them. And that just, it kind of dispels it, and it's not so cool anymore in their eyes. So
That's right. Then
go
they got
on.
to move on. They're like, oh my God, exactly. So you get it. You get
Yeah.
it. Exactly.
Yeah.
100%.
But I heard what Amber was saying. It was beautiful. But
Yeah.
I was here.
Right. And
Yeah.
so, part of it is like, man, maybe give them a little bit of, leeway, right, to kind of explore that on their own. And it's, it sounds like you've got the right idea and the right energy around, like, how to work with them so that way you can, embrace their own being. They can figure it out for themselves, but you can also, provide that model, provide that example, which I know you're doing. Because man, you do an awesome job. So yeah, I
And
just wanted to.
it's never going to get recorded. So don't even ask. So.
Oh no, I'm good on that one. Don't worry. Wasn't desiring that at all. But yeah, that's what I got for now.
Thank you guys. And Johnny, I want to bring up your allowing your son to go with you to the store and stuff. I know you have to have both parents on board with everything. I think that a lot of times, here, I'll relate to you. I'm like scrambling for words right now on this, but I bring my son everywhere, his father doesn't drive. So I'm always the driver, even, if I'm taking him to drop him off or something. But I take him everywhere with me, and our boys are around the same age. And I've also seen his reactions towards people change for this. And I feel like it's just a good experience for him to get to know himself a little bit better and how he deals with certain situations. Because there's been times where we'll walk into Walmart for something specific that he wants to get, and they don't say anything to me. And then the store person would say something to my son. And it's interesting to watch how right, like, who are you talking to my son while I'm right here? So, it's interesting to watch him react in those situations, and he didn't even answer the person. He was like, well, my mom's right there. So, that's just more witness I have for you. It's interesting to watch them go through Dojo Earth as well. And I think it's powerful to let them have those experiences. And I believe it's Amber is next.
Thanks for sharing everything, you guys. That's I was thinking about what Johnny was saying, and I have a 15-and-a-half-year-old too, and he in the beginning, my aversion to the masks and everything I would express around that was really off-putting to him. It was making him kind of go the other way, and I've shared before that he's pretty indoctrinated into germ theory, and he's a real science, like chemistry is his favorite subject, and so he ended up attending school at the beginning of the year in a mask. And I think just because of my reaction to it, he was almost like, it doesn't bother me, Mom. And that was really unnerving to me, because I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to reach him? Like, he's going to go to the other side, right? Again, all the fears, right? And him attending school for the period of time that he did in a mask was the best thing that could have happened to him. Because he, I just kind of stopped. Like, he would get in the car after school and he would be slumped down and he wouldn't take his mask off, but he still wouldn't admit that he needed fresh air, right? Because I had been so vocal about what I thought. And And then, you know, this is the whole, like, what I've been trying to practice is just backing off and not pushing my way on him, you know, and then he finally came to the conclusion on his own that he didn't feel good wearing a mask all day. And also I stood up for him to the school. You know, they basically said that the only way he could go on distance learning is if we were afraid of COVID. And I didn't want to lie. I always try to have integrity and be completely honest, but they kept telling me, you know, your kid can't stay home from school. Yeah, that's perfect. Your kid can't stay home from school unless this is your fear. And I finally just presented it to them in such a way that I said, well, very vaguely said, I'm very concerned for his health and safety around his health, and left it at that. And then after a couple, I don't know, 2 months or a month of that, then they questioned me again, you know, is he ready to come back? You know, are you feeling better about everything? The numbers have dropped here on Maui and blah, blah, blah. And that's when I finally said to them, you know, this isn't a matter of, you know, my concern for COVID. This is about his mental health. And I wrote to all of his teachers and the head of school and everything. And they ended up, you know, saying that he could switch to distance learning because he was thriving at home. They were concerned. He had to go in and meet with the counselor to make sure that we weren't, you know, it was an abusive situation kind of a thing. I mean, there's all sorts of suspicions around why we wanted to keep our kid home. And I said to them, you're trying to tell me that he's better off socializing in an environment where he's not allowed to socialize. He's not allowed to get within 6 feet of his friends without getting yelled at by whoever is around. You know, he's not allowed to breathe. And you're telling me that that's a better environment and option for them. And ultimately, like, what it came down to is we made the decision that $90,000 scholarship is not worth his mental health. I mean, that's just what it's come down to. We're pulling him out, and he couldn't be happier. He's so relieved, and he's going to succeed in whatever he does. But, you know, just like this age, and I know Johnny's going through this too, they need that independence. You know, they're teetering, you know, and they push us away, and they don't want to connect with us when we're still trying to parent them and tell them what to do. And I think that does apply to all ages, but even more so now, it's like this stage of like just kind of letting him decide for himself. And again, the modeling, you know, just trying to be better myself. And he's now hearing, he was really excited to hear that all the board members and teachers were on board with my thinking. Like, just me sharing that with him made him feel like, oh, okay, my mom isn't so crazy. There are other crazies out there like her that I respect, because one of them is his former teacher, and he loves her. And he's starting to just see through my own experience. And one more thing, just to touch on what Johnny was saying about not wearing a mask, and he doesn't really get harassed. The days that I've gone out into public, and here you can't even go into the grocery store because they have security guards at the door. You guys literally have security guards at the door. I've tried to do mask exemption, and they won't even honor my mask exemption. And then they give me this excuse, well, you can come at a different time of day, but those hours are kapuna hours, which means it's only for the elderly in Hawaii. And so I said, well, those are kapuna hours. I can't come. They're like, well, sorry, you know, they won't let me in their store. And but I try to still go without the mask wherever I can, you know, and then put it under my nose as soon as I'm inside, kind of to prove a point, and breathe. But, I'd lost. Oh yeah. Like Johnny was saying about this, you know, this aura on the days that I've gone out in public with kind of this concern and fear and worry that I'm going to have confrontation at the park, for example, with my daughters, I attract it every time. The day that I'm thinking those thoughts, you know, and focusing on that, I end up having a confrontation. And the days that I go out there and I don't even I just keep my vibration here. And I don't mean like I'm above everyone kind of a mentality. I'm just in myself, being present in myself, and just being, you know, confident in who I am as a person. People don't bother me. And then I end up having conversations with other people who can tell that I am not afraid. And then they want to talk about it. Right. So like whatever energy we're putting out to the world, like I always think about, this is a meditation for me, is whenever our fear of something going a certain way is greater than our desire for it to go well, we get our fear every time. So if we're focused so much on the fear of the situation, it's going to keep being amplified back to us. We're going to keep getting the reflections in everything we do. It's kind of like healing trauma. Like whatever trauma we haven't healed is just going to keep coming up in our lives and repeating itself until we figure it out, until we learn it. And so, yeah, I'm just trying to maintain that state of peace. And then when we operate from that place, we can handle any situation with grace. You know, we don't let other people, right? The vitriol doesn't pull us out of our center. You know, we're able to stay centered. And then they feel safe with that. It's like, it's unconscious. It's like a chain reaction. And, you know, it's nice I'm almost more sad when I see men with masks because like, I feel like if the men would just take off their masks, everyone would follow. And that's a good thing. Like the positive attributes of males, you know, being leaders is like, take off those masks, you know, and it's coming, it's happening. You know, this is we're in the middle of a scientific revolution. This is incredible. This has to happen to shake everyone up. Like you said, I think, Josh, you know, now you're noticing people aren't as afraid. Or maybe Johnny said that, I'm not sure which one of you, but like people aren't buying it as much. Even here where everyone is so brainwashed, and I'm seeing more and more people not buying the narrative. And so, yeah, it's pretty awesome. That's all.
I'm definitely witnessing the shift here around where I am too.
Okay, let me see.
There's really only
Perfect.
3 separate stores
Now turn it down
that I
low.
can faithfully
Mhm.
go to. And, you know, I've been going to these stores for years and nobody ever says anything. But more and more recently, I've been seeing others as well not wearing a mask. The masks are crazy around here. And I completely agree with you, Amber, when you say that if the men would just be men and take their masks off, then their whole family unit or whatever unit that man holds would follow. And I feel like that would be so powerful, and it really does irk me. So because, you know, up here in Maine, there's a lot of really hardworking men who are not office workers and, you know, very tough, tall stature or straight statured men, I guess, you know what I mean? And they just, oh, it irks me. You know, they get out of their big truck with their boots on, and then I walk into the store next to them not wearing anything. So I definitely agree with you on that. I feel like I had more to add, but it escapes me at the moment. Josh, do you still have your hand up, or do you want to take the talking stick?
Yeah, just something quick that I was forgetting that I wanted to mention last time I was talking, and relates very much to the concept that we're on about how you hold your energetic posture, I guess I'd say, and how you react to certain situations. And it's very synchronistic because, you know, every dojo that you guys see me, I'm outside walking with my dog. And there's this big pond in our neighborhood that we walk around literally every day, sometimes multiple times a day. And I've seen snakes there before once or twice, but I have not seen a snake there in a long, long time. And we just were talking about snakes yesterday. We're just talking about snakes this morning. And then there's this kind of concrete runner that goes along part of the pond after you cross a bridge. And it goes for about 10 yards and then it goes back onto the grass. And I'm walking on this concrete runner that's no wider than maybe half a foot, right? It's barely wider than your feet. So you're kind of just one step at a time type thing. And what do I see? A nice big old snake right in front of me. And I leaned down and I wasn't, you know, my heart didn't start palpitating or nothing like that. I just kind of leaned down and I just looked at it. He was just looking right back at me. And we're like eye to eye, you know? And this isn't like a rattlesnake or copperhead or nothing like that. It's probably like a rat snake or whatever. Like, you know, but just the notion that, you know, how you react to things. If I had seen him and go, whoa, right, and jump back, he's going to get all nervous too. He might snap at me, right, whatever. My dog walks up right next to it. I didn't freak out on my dog and go like, get out of here, you know, might have bit my dog. I don't know. I just let her stand right next to it. They might have even touched each other, you know, and then we just kind of walked on and carried on our way. So I thought it was just very apropos to everything we're talking about here, which is like your energy and how you react to the situation. And, you know, when Amber was kind of looking for the words of, you know, in your flow, in your energetic state, just sort of in a nice, even keel type of place, right? And I think that's probably the best way for me to describe it, which is like just even keel. You know, something presents in front of you, you kind of flow with it, and it doesn't cause a reaction, right, from you. So the more I think that we can get in that place, whether it's snakes or people or whatever, you know, we'll all probably have better reactions to the situation and receive better reactions from other people as well. So that's a little bit I just wanted to toss in that I forgot before.
Yeah, it's like holding that resonant frequency, and that energetic frequency, you know, people feel that, and we all just run on electricity. That's what it brings up for me. And what you shared about that snake on the concrete brings up a story. My son, we were visiting my mother in Virginia, and my old babysitter was right next door. So we were walking down my babysitter's driveway, which is this long gravel driveway. And we're walking down, my son is running ahead of me, and he goes, "Whoa!" And there's a black snake, big old fat black snake, like about to head out of the grass to like cross the road, and the snake just recoiled right back into the grass because my son was like, "Whoa!" So the snake went, "Whoa!" And I was like, "Wait, just watch him. He's just gonna pass on by and we'll be fine." And this is like the first time my son has really encountered a snake, and it's just a black snake, but they can get really big and they look scary. And the snake just passed on by and went across the driveway, and he was like, "Oh my God, that was so cool." So it just made me think of it because my son went, "Cool," and the snake just recoiled right back into the grass. And just standing in the driveway and holding that frequency, people, animals, we're all just relatives, and we connect to that same circuit. I believe Danny, I actually have you next. Brent, hello, how are you? Danny, take the talking stick.
Thanks. Hopefully you guys can hear me because I haven't used these headphones in a while. Yeah, I appreciate the conversation. I've just been listening as I've been running errands. I'm with Miko and Nala, and we were just at Atwoods, and I'm in kind of more rural Sand Springs, and especially at Atwoods, very few people were wearing masks, so that was is always nice. But something funny that happened is at one point when Amber was talking, she was, you know, there was a couple lines that were like, they talking about the kids in school and they can't even get 3 feet to each other and they can't even breathe. And right before she was saying that, I fumbled my phone and I was on headphones and the headphones popped out. And so it went on speaker, and there was a woman with a mask. It was an employee right next to me that got to hear that little rant, and I just thought that was funny. So yeah, there's that. And then, yeah, I mean, I don't know what to add, but I appreciate, you know, I've mentioned before that I grew up in Houston, and that's what we did for a pastime was we went to the creeks and we go herping, right, which catching snakes and all the reptiles. And yeah, it's definitely, there's something to it. And if I had to kind of pinpoint logically like what it is, you know, I mean, well, the snakes, the reptiles are functioning more on that kind of basal brain level, the brain stem, and I don't know the exact anatomy of it, but when we can kind of, I don't know if overcome's the right word, but like not go into the sympathetic state, right? And this relates to the mask wearing, which I guess on that note, I am similar to Josh, and I haven't worn a mask but a few times, and one of them was because I was dealing with fiberglass, right? So it wasn't actually for the, you know, going out in public, but I'm just always nice to people, and I'm just calm, and I just come from a place of truth and a place of compassion. And it's really hard for anyone to go into their red belt when you're coming from that space. And I haven't had too many issues. And I don't know, I'm just kind of rambling because I wasn't able to chime in earlier, and I just appreciated everything you guys were saying. And I think there's something to, I don't know, just having compassion for the reptilian mindset, which is more reactive and more chemically bound, maybe. I don't, that might, anyways, no, that's not the right way to say it. I'm done talking. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, you know? I definitely hear what you're saying. And I could never really explain it on any type of big vocabulary science type of way, but it's just that energetic communication of that animal realm. That's what I feel. And we communicate on that same level. And as humans, we're just as reactive to things. And we are close to two, so I am not going to go into my own rambling right now. Brent, please take the talking stick.
Yes, hi. Oh, I'm so glad to see you guys. I just took a break when I'm working on Campfire Weekend here and saw you guys. I said, oh, I haven't been to the Homeschool Dojo before, so I just wanted to come in and say hello. And Amber, I see your daughter's there. You want to do a little show and tell and does she want to see my raccoon?
Logan does.
Is her name Logan? Okay.
My son.
Oh, it's a son. Oh, I just saw the head go by.
No, that's Amanda talking to you. Amanda's son Logan would like to, and I'm sure Amber's would, and I would love to see your raccoon. So yes, please show and tell, if that's okay, Anna.
Oh gosh, yes, Elizabeth.
Yes.
I was about to say I want to see him too.
Little backstory. I had 4 raccoons here all winter, and one got to be we got really attracted to each other. The other 3 hated me. And when I released them last weekend, the 3 left that night, and I never seen them again. The one that attracts me, she goes out, and she was out at night. She comes back every day to sleep and to visit me. And, you know, this has been going on like every night. It's like a regular thing. So I'm going to take you out and show you her sleeping spot and wake her up and introduce you to her. Hey, Raquel. How you doing, little girl? How are you? How you doing? Yeah. There you are. Come over here. Yeah. Look, that's you in there. It's Amir. How you doing? I'm sorry I would disturb you. I just wanted to show you to my friends. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, she's so
She
cute.
always pats me on the head when she sees me. Yeah.
Oh my
She's
God.
so beautiful, Brent. Oh, Raquel, great name.
Yes. Hi, Logan. This is her view, the forest. She's got a good picture window. What are you doing? Hey, what are you doing? You're losing your blanket here. There you go.
I'm doing
So comfortable. Isn't she beautiful?
That's happy. She is gorgeous. That was the cutest thing. Her patting your head.
Yeah, she always does that. She just reaches out, but she just loves to I've been filling tiki torches, so I don't know how my hands smell to her, but yeah. How you doing?
They are very particular animal, aren't they? Like I hear that they like to wash their hands.
Yeah, they wash them all the time. They just do everything with their hands. Their hands are like little probes. Hey, give me my hat back. Give me that back.
Yeah, I've heard that to the contrary of them being like dumpster divers, like yes they are, but they wash their hands before they eat and stuff like that. I thought that was interesting.
Give me that hat back. Give me my hat back. Give me that hat back.
What's her name, Raquel?
Well, we weren't supposed to name him, but I call her Rack just for short so long. And one of the campfires here, Randy Smith said, "Oh, Raquel." And I said, "Well, I guess that'll do." But she's special. I think she needs a name. Look at that silhouette. Isn't that great?
Yes, with the yawn.
Yes. Yeah. Are you going to go back to sleep? So this is one of the release cages. This is like a halfway house when the orphans and babies. This is Logan. This is the food we give for her. She eats cat food for protein, and all the raccoons come in here at night and eat this. This is their fruit bowl. I have grapes, lots of grapes for them today. That's their favorite. And of course, the water dish, which is cleaner than usual. Raccoons are, I don't think this happens in the wild because they don't have water bowls, but you know, I can usually come in the morning and they look like it was a rock group in here partying. I mean, you wouldn't be surprised what you found in the water. They poop and pee in it, and oh my God, it's like, what goes on here? And then, so when it's time for them to be released, I open that door, which normally encloses them in this area, and then they walk out and go, new place to explore. And then they see in this last cage enclosure, there's the door to the outside world. And I just leave it cracked about 6 inches and hold it with, I don't know if you can see the chains, just like chains. It's just to discourage the bears from coming in. But of course, if they really wanted to break those chains out, they could, but just a deterrent in a way. In this back enclosure, I have a new ward, a fully adult red fox. And she's in real trouble, really traumatized. She was caught in a have a heart live trap. That live trap where she was caught was set up inside a chicken coop. So it was just like, come and get her or we're gonna kill it, you know, kind of a thing. So turns out she had a damaged eye. I think she's totally blind in one eye. But the worst thing was she was lactating and she left her babies back in her den. So she's really not happy. I'd show you the thing, but she's just tearing that place apart. She's ripped all of the barn curtain off and digging the floor. She's just 5 days just doing nothing, but I got to get out of here back to my baby.
How far away is she from where the chicken coop was?
I'm not exactly sure, but probably 20 miles. It's far from here, yeah. Not on this mountain at all. I'm going to release her here any day now.
Oh my goodness, my heart physically hurts for her right now.
Oh, this is weird. Maybe you can see this. This is my bedroom, and I got a window right to this cage. So I had a fox here for one. There. Let me see how. Oh, okay. There on the window. Do you see a silhouette of a fox?
Yes, we see her.
she's torn the barn curtain down so she can squeeze between the mesh and the barn curtain. It's like her tunnel for safety, you know, and she's just, poor thing, she's just so traumatized. I'll be really happy to let her loose, but you know, and she's an older fox, probably 2 to 3 years old. And in the wild, according to Leslie, the director here, that fox might live 4 or 5 years. So she's, anyway, any questions there, Logan? How about your daughter, Amber?
Good.
Anybody?
Okay, go ahead, Charlie.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
I didn't,
Uh,
wow.
Someday,
Charlie's favorite thing to do is to take care of animals. We've had so many animals we've rehabilitated, and
One time a green bird here hit the window and we tried to help it, but
Yeah.
it died. It like stayed alive for the whole day, and then like at night it just died.
that was actually a lesson in sometimes, you know, who knows what is good and what is bad, and by intervening we actually kept it alive a lot longer and it suffered longer. Yeah, but
yes. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm going to skip out. I got so much to do. I got guests coming in. Chris and the programs coming in.
That was a very dead fox.
Yeah, that's Fox. Yeah, you'll see her. I just found out that that they found 2 of the baby foxes, and they're bringing up. So they're trying to find the other 2 or 3 and hand raise those. And when they get old enough, they'll go into that same cage there. So it's always fun to wake up in the morning and I see foxes sitting in the window looking in at you. One last thing before I go, because I heard the thing about the snakes and the reversion and the flow state and all of that. If any of you have been looking at my Facebook page lately, I think maybe on I've had like a flurry of black bear encounters. They just a mother and her 3 cubs has been coming here like almost every day there for a while. I haven't seen them for a couple days, so I got these most amazing photographs and video. And if you look at the photos on my Facebook page, you know, at the faces of mama and her cub, I have one, their heads are like right next to each other. And then the comments, you know, everybody goes like, oh my God, it's a mother, it's so dangerous, don't pet them. They're giving me all of this advice, you're standing too close, you know, like, and I'm going like, look at their eyes and their faces, and you tell me if you see one iota of aggression or fear or anger or any of that. I mean, they're just looking at me like the raccoon in there looked at me, you know? So, I mean, no, if people run into trouble with wild animals, it's just for that reason. They just don't get it. They just don't get it, you know? It's not like that. They're not against us. They're not our enemy. They're not our competitors for our concrete slabs, you know? That's, anyway, that's all. I hope you enjoyed it, and I enjoyed visiting you all. Thanks so much what you're doing with the Dojo Homeschool. You guys, there's a tree out here that I couldn't figure out the first one to blossom, and I put it on Dojo Homeschool Facebook site, and boy, everybody rushed in, and within like 35 minutes, you know, I've had like 7 or 8 suggestions, and 3 of them were like, oh, that's exactly it. I would have never figured it. I would never been able to search for it or figure it out, but
That was awesome.
this is so.
that's the serviceberry.
Yep.
That was the serviceberry, yeah.
Yeah, the serviceberry. Yeah, it's also called shad trees, SHAD, for the same reason, because a shad is an Atlantic Ocean fish, they used to come, the Anna for Virginia. You in the old days, you know, the pioneer days, the rivers would just teem with them. You know, they would just be side to side in the river when they were making their spring run from the ocean back up to the freshwater rivers, kind of like salmon do on the West Coast or here on the East Coast as well. But so the blossoms on the trees would be a sign for everybody that's living in the hills and the mountains that, hey, head down to the rivers, the shad are here. So they, you know, that's and the service idea of service also. Service is an old English term, and it has all of those same connotations. One that the ground is going to be unfrozen for tilling or burying, and the other is the other thing that goes with seeing that blossom was that well, the paths are passable now. You won't find any snow or ice in the high elevations and stuff at that year. That's just a rule of thumb when you see the serviceberry blossoms. And of course, I knew none of this. I had no idea. I didn't even know I had a serviceberry tree in my front yard, you know, but so thanks to you guys.
Eat those berries.
Yeah, I'm going to be watching it close. You'll see you'll see my close-ups of the leaves, and then when the little berries come out, I'm going to do the whole the whole study on it for the kids. So anyway, thanks.
Where do you live, Brent? Where do you live? I'm just curious.
I'm up in western North Carolina in the sections of the Appalachians that where 5 or 6 of the tallest mountains of the Appalachians are. This is
Right from the hills.
yeah. So
Awesome.
guys, come and see me. Come for a fire. Come through. Plan your vacation that comes through this way and stop by. Bring the kids, and we'll have a blast.
All right, you guys have fun.
Thanks. See you later.
Thank you so much for bringing that, Brent.
Wait.
Bye. Bye, Logan.
Wait.
What?
Bye.
Hi, Logan. Yes, I see you.
All right, you
Thank
guys.
you, Anna.
Yes, thank you, Brent. It is 2-ish or whatever, and we're going to go ahead and close it out. So everybody unmute. Thank you so much all for being here today with me.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Thank you so much. This was
Bye, guys.
Thanks, you
Bye,
guys.
everyone.
Have a
Bye.
great weekend.
Bye.
Bye, Logan. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.